It's really nice to come back again. Makes me feel it wasn't quite so bad last year when I did it. It's been a treat for our school to continue their association with people like you who have presented things to our children that they would never ever have had. So I want to just go through a couple of things that it has meant to them and then some things that it's meant to me. Over the years, our connection with the university and our school, if you don't know it, is right on the borders of the edge of your grounds. We can see the towers from our window, and our Year 6s in their art module on painting landscapes, they paint the fields in between our school and yours, and sometimes they put the towers in and sometimes the perspective beats them and they just put a lot of clouds on the top of it, and it works okay, it's fine. And they've also grown up thinking that every junior school has a university attached to it, because we do, we have our own. They feel proprietorial about it. Most of our children learnt to ride their bikes on that little path that runs along the side of your, when they first come off the stabilisers, they come on the path along the side of your field and they fall off into the bushes. That's the first thing you do before you know how to brake. You fall off into university bushes. And then usually about 10, 11, 12 years later, on a Sunday, they come with their dads and they drive a car for the first time in your car parks. I don't know if you know that, but don't leave your car there on a Sunday. They also, you will notice if you're here in the winter, when it snows, they come here because you have the best slopes. So you are definitely part of our community before you've actually done anything with us. But what you have done for us over the last few years is you have really raised the profile of what being part of a university is. And the first thing that we had contact with was with the trampolining. I'm not known for my alacrity in responding to emails, but when we had an email that said some students will be willing to do a trampolining club for our children, I leapt at it because it looked like something you don't often get in education, which is something for nothing. And I did worry slightly initially how it would be, and this was some 4 to 5 years ago, because children and trampolines is a bit projectile, and I was a little anxious about the risk assessment. But when I went, I have to say, and this has been echoed by other people who have spoken, I have constantly, with everything I have ever seen you do, been astounded by the quality of the way that you produce things. I have to say, hand on heart, and I'll echo somebody else, I don't want this said publicly, you would put some teachers to shame in terms of the preparation you do and the way you deliver and your follow-up. When I used to come and watch from the viewing gallery and watch your trampolining, the things were well organised, they were prepared, people were calm, everybody knew exactly what they were doing, and it was all cleared up and everybody was safe and it was organised. And I wouldn't like to imply that my school is not like that. However, on a bad day, it might be. The children love it. One of the things I loved about the trampolining was that we had children who weren't sporty children necessarily, who were involved in doing it. We had some of our quite tubby Year 6 girls who would have hated PE lessons, but they really, really loved that. I talked to one of them who did it for a couple of years, and I said, "What was it, Sophie, that you really liked about the trampolining?" And she said, "One of the things was they were all really kind and helpful. I had really good fun. I learned how to do backdrops, and you felt really safe because the instructors were all around." This is a child who was not a PE girl, but she felt safe about doing some aerobic activity there. And then we moved on from just doing the bouncy bit, and last year we had, in volunteering week, we had the intrepid team who started digging our quiet garden off the playground. It was a really good move because you got it to such a state that we had to do something with it afterwards. It's fab. We'd never have done it if you hadn't done that, so it was brilliant. You had the wettest day in February that there has ever been, and you dug. It was brilliant. You need to come and pop in and see the garden now because it's absolutely fabulous. We wouldn't have done it if you hadn't done that. We've also had a table tennis club. That was really popular. And we've had Bollywood dancing, not at the same time because that would be a bit tricky, but we've had those two, and we've had your time travellers come this year, last term, and do some pirate days with our Year 3s, and they haven't stopped saying aye aye and avast. I don't understand what they're talking about, but that's nothing unusual. And when I talked to the children as well, and I said, I said, who'd like to come and talk to me about what it was like when you did your pirate days? And one child said, I will, I'll come, Mrs. Thompson. And he came and sat in my office, and I said, what did you really like about it? And he said, do you know, there was a man and his parrot kept falling off. And I really liked that. It's not hard to amuse a 7-year-old, but he really enjoyed that and he'll remember it. And then the Year 6s turned into entrepreneurs and future leaders of Goldman Sachs with the Money Matters team. And all of that, such a wide-ranging collection of things that you've offered us that we wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. One of the things that Ofsted asks you about when you tell them what fabulous things happen in your school, they say, so what? Only they tart it up in edu-speak. And what they mean is, all those things you do, what difference does it make to the children? Well, I want to tell you the difference that it makes to the children. You have given them a different impression of students. Because sometimes in communities where students live, and I've been a student, the name of students is not sung really highly. I remember as a student myself in Leicester that people used to walk past on the other side of the road so they wouldn't have to go near us because they thought, I don't know what they thought. But I'm not saying that's necessarily the case locally, but there is always, wherever you are in the world, a perception of students like that. Our children and our parents do not think that. Our parents and our children think, as they should do, that you are kind, helpful, positive role models, and they look to you in that light. Their vision of you as people like that will make such a difference to them in their future years. Some of them are going to make choices about going to university and higher education based on the influence that you had on them when they were 8 or 9 or 10. And for that, I thank you. Because although our children, some of them come from families where the parents have been in higher education, not all of them have. And you've brought them into your context, you've brought them into your place. And they see that it's a place that you can be proud of and be proud in. You wouldn't have known that when you did table tennis with them, that there was a boy there whose self-esteem wasn't high because he wasn't good at football out on the playground, but with a bat in his hand he was a superstar, and people saw that. You won't know the impact that that has on him in later life. Some of our children come to school because they have to, and then they go home, and that's it. But if you can catch them doing something else, catching the heart of them, you've caught them and you've raised their self-esteem and you've made them better people. And what's more, you've made them raise in their own estimation, so they will do well in other things. It's an absolutely proven fact that children who are engaged by something at school will do better academically. And if you've had a part in that, you have done a huge service to those children. And what does it say about you? It says that over and above, you are people who will give more than you take, whose enthusiasms and abilities bubble over and affect the people around you. And if you're like this now, when you have got such busyness in your lives and you're studying, you will continue to do that through your lives, and it will hold you in really good stead for your jobs, for your relationships, for your social lives. You will always be people who make life better around you. And on behalf of our school, I'd echo that of all my colleagues who've said it. On behalf of our school, our parents and our children, I thank you very much indeed. Thank you.